Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I will be talking about the cat that nobody has asked for, Shrewpaw. And I know I haven't said my name yet, but my name is Eco. You can call me Eco Leaves Legends, the legend. I'm kidding, don't call me that. But today we are going to be talking about Shrewpaw, an apprentice from the New Prophecy series of warrior cats. Before I'd like to say anything, I'd like to say spoiler alert for midnight through dawn of the New Prophecy. So yeah, let's just get into it. I'd also like to say I am recording this on my iPad mic, so I'm so sorry if you can hear like a fan in the background. There's not even a fan going on. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, let's just get into it. Shrewpaw is described as a small, dark brown tom with amber eyes and a narrow muzzle. He was first mentioned in Midnight of New Prophecy to the first litter of Ferncloud and Dustbelt, his brother being Spiderleg, which I'm sure most of you know. And only 2 books later, he died in Dawn of New Prophecy, after trying to catch a pheasant that, by Thornclaw's standards, could have saved the whole clan from starvation. In Midnight, he is scarcely mentioned. Everything I'm going to say in these 3 book summaries is straight off the Warriors Wiki, so also go check that out. So the only quote he has in Midnight from the wiki is this, and it's Shrewpaw introducing his younger siblings to Ravenpaw, and it's page 84. Hollykit, this is Ravenpaw. He lives on a 2-leg farm and feasts on more mice than you 3 have seen in your life. So that's pretty basic knowledge. I think he was a pretty good brother to his younger siblings, and I think that's clearly shown there. But it also shows the hunger issue in ThunderClan at the time. So this is the actual summary from the wiki, not the quote. Shrewpaw has become an apprentice with Thornclaw as his mentor. He is briefly seen sharing tongues with Sorrelpaw and Spiderpaw near the apprentice's den. When Ravenpaw visits ThunderClan's camp, Shrewpaw tells him that Firestar is in his den and offers to show Ravenpaw there, but Thornclaw calls for him and Shrewpaw leaves Ravenpaw with his mentor. Shrewpaw is out on a patrol with Thornclaw and Squirrelpaw, so Thornclaw can show the 2 apprentices the best places to hunt near 4 trees. When they return, Brambleclaw runs over to meet Squirrelpaw, eager to talk to her, but Shrewpaw is still with her. Squirrelpaw casts him an uneasy glance and goes behind the nursery with Brambleclaw. Shrewpaw goes to tell Firestar that the 2 are meeting in secret, and Firestar goes to see what they are doing. When Squirrelpaw goes missing, both Shrewpaw and Whitepaw say they haven't seen any sign of her. So yeah, that is a pretty basic and standard summary for a cat that's barely in the books. But it shows that he kind of is compassionate to Ravenpaw, a cat he's probably never seen before, but also wary of Brambleclaw, perhaps because he might have a crush on Squirrelpaw, or maybe because Firestar asked him to kind of tell when the 2 are talking about something, and then that one prophecy Cinderpelt talked about and mistakenly perceived. But it's kind of weird because I actually haven't read this book in a long time. So half of the stuff I'm making up, probably. Not the summaries, though. This is straight off the wiki. But in Moonrise, he is barely mentioned, much shorter than Midnight. And it says, Shrewpaw play fights with Whitepaw outside the apprentice's den while Hollykit, Larchkit, and Birchkit, Shrewpaw's siblings, watch them with admiration. He is seen around camp, often with Spiderpaw suggesting that he is close littermates with him. He begins to feel the struggle along with the rest of the clan as 2 legs begin to destroy the forest. That is a pretty stock character right there. He never, has any issues in the books. He doesn't have, squabbles or anything. He is just being a good brother, and that's honestly what most cats, or not cats, people remember him as. But in Dawn, it's a different story. This is the book he gets to shine the most, in my opinion, because he gets lots of dialogue. But yeah, let me read you some of the summary, or all of the summary, I should say, from the wiki, and then I'll get on to actual quotes from the books that I took off the PDF version of Dawn. Yes, I have the Book of Dawn. It's just I can't find it, so I'm just using the PDF. So yeah, when Squirrelpaw and Brambleclaw return from the journey, Squirrelpaw sees Shrewpaw and calls out to him, asking how his training is going, to which he responds that they have been working hard. She sleeps next to him in the apprentice's den at Sunning Rocks, and he is the cat that she first tells about her dream about Leafpaw and Spotted Leaf, though he is skeptical. Shrewpaw lets Squirrelpaw sleep in, thinking Squirrelpaw would forget her dream, and she becomes angry at him, though she apologizes soon after. After hunting, Thornclaw comes back to camp with the body of Shrewpaw, saying that he had a run-in with a monster on the Thunderpath while chasing a pheasant that would have fed half the clan. I swear it used to say the whole clan. I guess it's half the clan. He had been hit by a monster, not feeling anything but breaking his neck in the process. Whitepaw and Squirrelpaw both seem to be very close to him, so when he dies, they're both devastated. Along with his parents, Whitepaw declares that she will still sit vigil, whether they were in camp or not. Thornclaw joins her along with Squirrelpaw and Brambleclaw. So after reading that summary, I'd just like to point out he was 20 moons old when he died, which meant that he probably should have been made a warrior. And I don't exactly remember how long it takes for Spiderpaw to become a warrior, but I'm pretty sure it's before they leave for the great journey. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. But I'd also like to say, for a cat with such a momentous, quote-unquote, momentous death, his death is already mistaken by the authors, I think in the same book. Because I'm pretty sure that they said that actually he died on the great journey and not to a monster, which is honestly heartbreaking because Thornclaw was pretty upset about that, and Thornclaw is just their beloved child, apparently, with his patrolness. But anyways, let me actually read you a part of the book where Squirrelpaw wakes up and talks about her dream to Shrewpaw and blah blah blah. So yeah. Squirrelpaw curled up beside Shrewpaw and tried not to think about the warm, moss-lined den where the apprentices had slept before. At least the small gully they were lying in gave some shelter from the chilly night breeze. It felt strange to be sleeping apart from Brambleclaw after their long journey together, but at least Shrewpaw seemed happy to have her back. Her paws ached with tiredness, and she closed her eyes, folding her tail over her muzzle for comfort. At first, she couldn't stop thinking about the disastrous meeting at Four Trees, but gradually dreams wove into her waking thoughts and drew her to sleep. So that's the first part, but the second part is much longer, so let me read you that now. "Stop fidgeting for StarClan's sake," Shrewpaw muttered. Squirrelpaw's eyes shot open. She was lying in the narrow cleft in Sunning Rocks. The hollow was dark, and she could only just make out the soft shapes of sleeping cats around her. She sat up and stared over the lip of the gully. Outside, frost glittered on the smooth stones, and beyond that she saw the outlines of leafless trees, black and spiky against the sky. "What's the matter?" Shrewpaw asked sleepily. "I know where Leafpaw is," Squirrelpaw whispered. "I have to go and rescue her." Shrewpaw's eyes blinked open. "How do you know?" "Spotleaf told me in a dream." "Are you sure?" "Of course I'm sure," Squirrelpaw snapped. Shrewpaw twitched his ears. "You can't just disappear without telling any cat where you're going," he warned. He didn't add again, but Squirrelpaw guessed that was where he was thinking. What he was thinking. "I could wake Firestar up," she meowed. No, let me redo that. "I could wake Firestar up," she mewed. "Now I know where Leafpaw is. He could send out a rescue party." "Not in the middle of the night," Shrewpaw pointed out. "It's too cold. Besides, it was just a dream." "It was more than a dream," Squirrelpaw insisted. "But you're not a medicine cat," Shrewpaw argued. "No cat's going to go on a rescue mission in the middle of the night because you had a dream." His amber eyes were gentle. "They might listen to you in the morning, though. Settle down and go back to sleep." Squirrelpaw sighed, but she knew he was right. She slumped back down again, still seeing the wooden nest filled with cages. Shrewpaw lay down beside her and rested his tail comfortingly on her flank. "We'll find her in the morning," he promised, closing his eyes. So Shrewpaw actually had some dialogue, some important dialogue. That was a dream from StarClan, and he was talking to Squirrelpaw with it, which means he's a pretty important character, wouldn't you think? Absolutely not. Why would why would we ever need an important character that we can actually keep? No. No. Yeah, I'm sorry for yelling, but I just want to say, Shrewpaw deserved better. Anyways, sorry again. This is the next scene. So, yeah. And this is also, actually, no, it's not the last scene. We still have a few more to read, but yeah, let's get on to it. Squirrelpaw opened her eyes and sat up with a start. Bright light streamed into the gully, though the air was cold, colder still because all the other apprentices had left. Quickly she stretched and scrambled out of the crevice. Her dream was still clear in her mind. She had to tell her father so she could organize a rescue party. Shrewpaw was washing on the stone slope in front of the den. "Where's Firestar?" Squirrelpaw demanded. "He's out patrolling with Graystripe," Shrewpaw replied, rubbing at his cheek with his paw. She twitched her tail in frustration. "Why didn't you wake me?" "You didn't sleep well, remember?" meowed Shrewpaw. "I thought you could get some extra rest and join me in a later patrol." Firestar agreed. "Didn't you tell him about my dream?" Squirrelpaw pricked her ears. "What did he say? When is he sending out a patrol?" I didn't mention the dream," Shrewpaw stammered. "I thought you would have forgotten it. It was only a dream after all." Squirrelpaw glared at Shrewpaw. "It was a message from StarClan." "I'm really sorry." He shuffled his paws and stared at the ground. Squirrelpaw let her fur lie flat again. "No, I'm sorry," she sighed. "It's not your fault I overslept." "It's okay," Shrewpaw shrugged. "Did you really see Leafpaw in your dream?" Squirrelpaw nodded. "And the other cats that are missing from the forest, or at least I definitely smell WindClan and RiverClan scents." "That's amazing!" He glanced past her and twitched his whiskers. "Looks like there's been some successful hunting already today. That should put Firestar in a good mood at least." Wow. So, yeah. That's kind of, an important scene with the two, because it shows Squirrelpaw actually apologizing for her brashness, unlike anything she does with Brambleclaw in the New Prophecy, in my opinion. But anyways, we are actually going to talk about his most memorable moment in the series, his death. So, yeah, let me actually read you it now. By the time the cats reached Sunning Rock, rain was battering. Also, okay, I know I just started reading, but I'd like to apologize for all my stupid mistakes where I mutter up, like I'm doing now, where I mess up my words. I'm so sorry, but I'm not the most fluent reader when I'm recording it. Okay, let's start again. By the time the cats reached Sunning Rocks, rain was battering the exposed rock, and water ran down in rivulets, turning the earth around the rocks to mud. But instead of finding shelter, the cats that gathered up the slope huddled in a circle. Moans of sorrow mingled with the rattling of the rain on the stone. With a startling meow, Firestar bounded up the rock, and Squirrelpaw followed, pushing through the cats with her heart beating in her throat. A small, dark brown shape lay in the center, pelted by rain which turned pale red as it streamed away down the stone. Squirrelpaw stared down at the limp, sodden body, too shocked to speak as she recognized the narrow muzzle. It was Shrewpaw. Cinderpelt and Leafpaw crouched beside the apprentice. "His neck is broken," Cinderpelt murmured. "He must have died as soon as the two-legged monster hit him. He would have felt no pain." Squirrelpaw closed her eyes. "StarClan, what are you doing?" she yowled silently. A desolate cry sounded from the nursery hollow, and Burncloud hurtled down the slope. Shrewpaw had been one of her first litter. The cats parted to let her see the dead kit. "What have I done, StarClan, that you would steal so much from me?" she wailed. "Don't blame StarClan," Leafpaw mewed gently. "It is the two legs that have done this." "Why didn't StarClan stop them?" Ferncloud sobbed. They are powerless against the two legs, just like we are," Leafpaw whispered. She gave herself a shake, then straightened up and called, "Cody?" Squirrelpaw watched the kitty pet weave her way through the gathered cats. Her ribs were beginning to show through her flanks, but she hadn't tried to insist that any warrior be spared from hunting patrols to take her home. "I think Ferncloud should go back to the nursery," Leafpaw meowed. That was actually such a sad scene. I was getting, stuff was in my throat. I was, trying to hold back tears, kind of. My voice is dying. I've been literally screaming this, script, because I'm recording this on my iPad. So it's been pretty hard to record it, so don't expect another one of these today. But yeah, he was with me, began Thornclaw. Also, yeah, this is the part where Thornclaw's talking about him. He was with me, began Thornclaw, Shrewpaw's mentor. His fur stood on end, and his eyes were huge with despair. He was chasing a pheasant. Why didn't he see the two-legged monster? He was chasing a pheasant, Thornclaw repeated. It would have fed half the clan. He forgot to be careful. Didn't you hear or smell the monster and warn him? Firestar's question was filled with more sorrow than accusation. Thornclaw miserably shook his head. With prey so scarce, the hunting... With prey so scarce, the hunting is better if we split up. I wasn't close enough to see what was going on. Firestar dipped his head, understanding. I'll sit with him. Whitepaw's young voice sounded over the beating of the rain. Shrewpaw had been her den mate since kithood, and the sorrow of losing him glistened in her green eyes. I don't care if we've been driven out of our camp. We can still hold a vigil. I'll join you, Thornclaw croaked. He leaned down and pressed his nose against Shrewpaw's bloody flank. The other cats began filing past to bid farewell to their young clanmate. When it came to her turn, Squirrelpaw stooped low over Shrewpaw's body, her heart aching. You were an apprentice in ThunderClan, but you'll be a warrior with StarClan, she whispered. She turned away and padded down the slope toward the shelter of the trees, her sadness feeling like the part of the rain and tiredness that seemed to seep right through her bones. She spotted Brambleclaw sitting beneath a larch tree watching her. I can't believe Shrewpaw's dead, she sighed. I know, Brambleclaw murmured, entwining his tail with hers. Squirrelpaw leaned closer to him. Ferncloud is heartbroken. She'll find comfort in having the rest of the clan around her, Brambleclaw sighed. So yeah, just like that, Shrewpaw will be forgotten. But he does show up in one more scene in Bramblestar's Storm, where, spoilers, Dustpelt dies, and then he sees, like, all his siblings, or not his siblings, all his kittens and stuff. And I'm not going to read that because it's pretty short and he's not even mentioned by name, but I will read a trivia fact on the wiki, where it's an author statement. So yeah, let me get started. When asked if she thought Squirrelpaw and Shrewpaw would have made a cute couple, Cherith responded with, no, I don't think Shrewpaw had nearly enough clout to cope with a cat like Squirrelflight. Ugh, such a shame. So that's really all Shrewpaw was known, and it's quite sad because despite Cherith's comment, I personally think that he would be cute with her. And I don't know what she's really talking about anyway, with quote-unquote clout to cope with Squirrelflight, because it's not like Ashfur nor Brambleclaw have enough clout to cope with Squirrelflight. But anyways, in the next episode relating to Shrewpaw, yes, there will probably be another one, I'm going to be talking about an AU where he survives, so see you then. Anyways, yep, I hope you guys like this video. I made lots and lots of mistakes. That is definitely for real. But I also had lots of fun recording this, but my voice is also kind of dead. So yeah, if you guys liked it, please like and subscribe. Also, comment down below what you think his warrior name would be if he survived. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye!